Uganda just pushed back a million-person religious pilgrimage. And now South Sudan, which has 0 confirmed cases on today's map, is one of 3 countries on 2 continents that have formally restricted travel into the outbreak zone.
This is Ebola Watch for Thursday, May 28th. I'm Daniel with Cassidy, and this has moved from a health agency story to a travel policy story.
We've got WHO saying conflict and hunger aren't side issues here, Canada and the Bahamas shutting doors, and Uganda's national emergency activation giving us the clearest containment move yet.
So let's just ask it straight. If the restriction net is now wider than the confirmed case map, what does that mean for somebody who already booked a trip anywhere near there?
From Vibhu Mishra at UN News.
The UN World Health Organization, WHO, on Wednesday warned that Eastern Democratic Republic of the Congo faces a catastrophic collision of disease and conflict as a fast-spreading Ebola outbreak outpaces containment efforts in a region already battered by armed violence, mass displacement, and acute hunger.
WHO Director General Tedros put this on the record yesterday, and I want to be careful with the wording here, because it's their phrase, not ours. Catastrophic collision of disease and conflict. That's not just context anymore. That's WHO saying the conflict in Ituri is part of why suspected and confirmed cases are drifting apart.
And Tedros was very specific about why contact tracing is breaking down. Insecurity, attacks on health facilities, population movement. He said it's nearly impossible to trace contacts while bombs are falling. That's not jargon. That's the WHO director saying the basic toolkit stops working in this environment.
One detail that deserves its own beat. The Bundibugyo strain has no approved vaccine and no approved treatment. The California Department of Public Health flagged that in its alert last week, and now it's in WHO-attributed language in a UN dispatch. So when the Bahamas, Canada, and Thailand tell people not to travel there, that's the backdrop.
So 3 countries add formal travel restrictions in one news cycle, and the honest answer to what does a traveler do if they already went is there's nothing licensed to offer them. That's not me being evasive. That's just where the countermeasure pipeline is.
City of Pasadena Public Health Department writes,
The California Department of Public Health, CDPH, is closely monitoring an outbreak of Bundibugyo virus disease, BVD, a type of Ebola disease caused by Bundibugyo virus, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, and the Republic of Uganda. To date, no cases of BVD related to these outbreaks have been reported in the United States or other countries outside of the DRC and the Republic of Uganda.
Worth flagging where this alert sits in the timeline. Pasadena's City Health Department issued it on May 20th, a full week ago, and it's still the clearest single-source rundown of how Bundibugyo was confirmed. May 5th, unknown illness in Ituri province. May 15th, Bundibugyo virus disease confirmed. May 16th, WHO declares a public health emergency. That's 11 days from alert to declaration, and the cross-border caseload, 2 travelers arriving separately in Kampala, is exactly why Uganda's national emergency activation this week is not a surprise.
A California County Health Department beat the federal timeline on naming Bundibugyo specifically. That's the part I keep coming back to. CDPH says there are no approved treatments for this strain, and Canada, the Bahamas, and Thailand just added 3 countries to their restriction lists. So the policy net is widening, and the treatment shelf is empty. What are travelers supposed to do with that combo?
That's the equity logistics gap in State Department language now. The CDPH alert spells out the countermeasure void for Bundibugyo specifically, which is a lot sharper than just talking about vaccines being under consideration. A trial being considered in Uganda is not a vial sitting in a clinic in Kampala, and now a local health authority is putting that in writing.
One more thing the alert makes crystal clear. The 2 Uganda cases traveled from DRC to Kampala independently. Not a cluster, not a family unit, two separate movement events. That's the contact tracing geometry that makes postponing a million-person pilgrimage look less cautious than unavoidable.
Here's the Good Men Project.
Uganda has activated its national emergency response and postponed a religious gathering expected to draw 1 million pilgrims following an outbreak of Ebola that has spread into the country from the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, raising international alarm. The World Health Organization, WHO, declared a public health emergency of international concern, PHEIC, on Sunday, 17 May, due to the high risk of the virus spreading across borders, after 2 cases were confirmed in Uganda's capital, Kampala.
Uganda has now done the 2 things that tell you a government is treating this as real. It activated its national emergency response, and it canceled a 1 million-person religious pilgrimage. That second move matters in a way a case count can't fully capture. A gathering that size is a contact tracing problem nobody could work through in time.
And I want to keep the numbers attached to that decision because they're smaller than people might expect. As of May 16th, WHO was reporting 8 laboratory-confirmed cases in DRC's Ituri province, alongside 246 suspected. Uganda pulled the plug on a 1 million-person event over 8 confirmed cases. That's either very good public health instinct or a sign the surveillance teams are seeing more than the confirmed count is showing.
It's both, Daniel. And that confirmed versus suspected gap is the whole point. 8 confirmed, 246 suspected. That ratio isn't a quirk in the data. It's a detection ceiling. And the Bundibugyo species specifically has no approved vaccine and no approved treatment, which the WHO itself flagged in the PHEIC declaration on May 17th. Uganda is pricing in the gap between what the numbers say and what the numbers can actually see.
The other thing I keep coming back to, 2 unlinked cases in Kampala, 1 dead, 1 confirmed, and no apparent connection between them. Henry Kiobi Bosa's contact tracing teams are now mapping exposure networks across the whole capital. That's not a border containment story anymore. That's an urban spread story.
UPI with Daryl Coote.
May 27th, UPI. The Bahamas, Canada, and Thailand are imposing travel restrictions on travelers from Ebola-stricken regions as the International Rescue Committee warns that the outbreak could worsen. All 3 countries instituted restrictions Tuesday, mostly focused on the admission of travelers from regions battling the Bundibugyo virus strain of Ebola.
The airport screening thread we've been watching just widened a lot. Canada, the Bahamas, and Thailand have all moved to formal travel restrictions, and Canada is running the strictest version, with mandatory protocols for anyone arriving from DRC, Uganda, or South Sudan.
South Sudan. That's the flag for me. DRC is the epicenter. Uganda has 7 confirmed cases, but South Sudan hasn't been in the confirmed case column all week. So why are 3 countries drawing that border? Is this precautionary modeling, or is there something in the surveillance data we haven't seen yet?
That's a fair distinction to make. Suspected exposure geography is not the same thing as confirmed transmission geography. And listeners deserve to hear that the restriction net is now wider than the verified outbreak footprint. The IRC, for what it's worth, is warning these restrictions could undermine the response. So you've got third country policy in direct tension with the people doing containment on the ground.
And there's no licensed vaccine sitting behind any of these restrictions. Canada is telling people not to travel there, but if you already did, the Pasadena County Health Department is apparently ahead of the federal curve in saying there are no approved treatments for Bundibugyo specifically. That's a real gap for anyone trying to figure out what restricted actually means for their risk.
If Ebola Watch helps you stay informed, please subscribe and leave a quick review wherever you're listening. It only takes a moment, and it helps other people find the show. We've put links to all of today's stories in the show notes, So if one thread is especially useful to you, you can follow it there and read a bit deeper. That's Ebola Watch for this Thursday, May 28th. This is a Lantern podcast.